Cats, dogs, horses, and all kinds of animals you've seen repeatedly are common, boring animals. But some are rarer than a shiny Charizard in mint condition. You might never have seen these animals, but don't worry, we have proof that they really exist. These are the 20 rarest animals ever captured on video. But before we get started, subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Birds of Paradise. Now, there is an entire family of birds known as the birds of paradise. Specifically, there is a group of birds that can be found in places like eastern Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and eastern Australia. There are 45 species in this group or family, and many of them are threatened in terms of population status. The threats to these birds are consistent, which is why we're grouping them together. First, they were hunted for their beautiful feathers, which were used in clothing around the world. Second, their homes were destroyed by deforestation, further harming their population numbers. The fact that this is happening across several countries is even more concerning, as it could affect and wipe out multiple bird species at once. Well, that's everything from the realm of rare animals that we don't always see in nature. Number 2. The fossa. It's somewhat ironic that I haven't talked about Madagascar, given how much wildlife exists in that country and how constantly threatened it is. But in this case, I'm talking about its main predator, the fossa. What is a fossa, you might ask? They are relatives of mongooses and are creatures that absolutely love hunting Madagascar's main stars, the lemurs. So yes, they would probably take out King Julian if you asked them, but you could ask them, right? Well, that's the problem. Despite being the top predator on land, they are actually hard to find. Scientists honestly don't know much about them, and therefore they don't know their population numbers. This is bad because they need to be monitored and recorded in order to be protected, to estimate how well they are doing, or how badly they're doing. Number 3. The handfish. As I've shown you, there are many ways an animal can become endangered, but in the case of the handfish, it became threatened partly because of how its life develops. What I mean is that it only lives on sandy bottoms of aquatic areas and only at a specific depth. So when these areas began to be affected by human expansion, pollution, and invaded by predators, it didn't have much room to move. Additionally, it is found in only one place in Australia. This means that if something happens to this single population, it could affect the entire species, and that's exactly what happened. It is now critically endangered. Number 4. The long-beaked echidna. It's time to dive into one of the most extraordinary and mysterious animals on the planet, the long-beaked echidna. This small mammal, which inhabits remote regions of Indonesia, represents not only a fascinating species, but also a living link to the Earth's evolutionary history. Long considered lost forever, the long-beaked echidna surprised the modern world with its unexpected return, revealing how mysterious and resilient life can be. The long-beaked echidna is a monotreme, an extremely rare order of mammals that lay eggs instead of giving birth to live young, a trait shared only with the platypus. Among all monotremes, echidnas stand out for their unique combination of primitive traits and modern adaptations. The echidna's long beak is not just aesthetic, it functions as a sophisticated sensory tool, full of electrical receptors that allow it to locate insects and small invertebrates buried in the soil. This ability is crucial for survival, as they live in densely vegetated habitats that are often difficult to explore visually. The long-beaked echidna is also considered a living fossil, a term used for species that have changed very little over millions of years and represent a direct window into past eras of life on Earth. The echidna lineage dates back over 50 million years, a period when continents were reorganizing and new life forms were rapidly evolving. The fact that the long-beaked echidna survived so many environmental changes, ice ages, and catastrophic events is a testament to its adaptive resilience, making each individual found today a living relic of a distant past. Now it's time to talk about the long-beaked echidna, an important animal for one simple reason. People thought it was extinct. Equally important, it was recently found in November 2nd. At that time, people believed it had been extinct for a long time. Someone managed to take a photo of one. An expedition in Indonesia, led by researchers from the University of Oxford, recorded 4 3-second clips of the long-beaked echidna. These creatures are so rare and so ancient in their lineage that they are known as living fossils. And this also gives hope to researchers that other creatures thought to be extinct might still be out there, waiting to be rediscovered. Number 5. The golden lion tamarin. Given the rather tragic nature of this story, how about something a little more uplifting? Let's talk about the golden lion tamarin, a special species of monkey for which we have a positive update. In recent months, this monkey, which had once been so low in population that it barely reached 200 individuals in the 1970s, has made a comeback thanks to conservation efforts. It wasn't easy. They even had to deal with a yellow fever outbreak. However, by 2023, the population had surged to around 4,800. To be clear, this doesn't mean they are out of danger, as they are still classified as endangered. But when you have a population increase like this, there is reason to celebrate, and the team that preserves and protects them certainly did when the population survey results came in. Number 6, the Yangtze giant soft-shell turtle. And here is another critically endangered species to meet. Tragically, this is a creature with such a low population that no one can honestly say whether it will survive or not. I'm talking about the Yangtze giant soft-shell turtle. According to official records, in the last survey, there are only 4 of these turtles left in the entire world. That's not good. The good news is that if breeding occurs, a single female Yangtze giant soft-shell turtle can actually produce up to 100 eggs. But the problem is that despite attempts to breed with other males under careful conservation efforts, nothing happened. This could change in the future, absolutely, but the fact that the number is still so low is concerning. 4 is extremely low, and if the female dies and only the males remain, unless a miracle occurs, the species is doomed. Number 7, pygmy. Three-toed sloths in general are animals known for their characteristic slowness, a trademark of their species that gives them a peculiar charm. However, this slowness, although adaptive in many ways, can be a significant disadvantage in a world increasingly altered by humans. Among the different species of sloths, one of the rarest and most threatened is the pygmy three-toed sloth, Bradypus pygmaeus, a fascinating but extremely vulnerable creature. This small mammal is found exclusively on Escudo de Bolívar Island, located off the coast of Central America. Being confined to such a small island directly contributes to its critical status. Any environmental change, habitat destruction, or introduction of predators can have devastating impacts on the entire population. Unlike its larger relatives, the pygmy three-toed sloth is smaller and more delicate, with a body adapted to an exclusively arboreal life, hanging among the thin branches of tropical trees. The behavior of the pygmy three-toed sloth is emblematic of its species. It spends most of its time hanging upside down, moving slowly from branch to branch in search of leaves, shoots, and small fruits. This slowness is not just a physical characteristic, but also a survival strategy. It helps avoid predators, who often fail to detect the animal due to its natural camouflage, formed by greenish-gray fur that blends with moss and tree vegetation. The green color of its fur is intensified by microscopic algae that grow on it, providing an extra layer of camouflage and even a microhabitat for small organisms. A remarkable example of symbiosis in nature. However, the slowness that was once an evolutionary advantage has become a trap in modern times. The ongoing destruction and fragmentation of its habitat caused by deforestation for agriculture, urbanization, and logging have drastically reduced the available area for these animals. At the same time, introduced predators such as feral cats, dogs, and rats increase the risk of predation, especially for the young. The combination of habitat loss and invasive predators has resulted in a sharp decline in population, making each individual vital for the species' survival. In addition to natural and environmental threats, the pygmy three-toed sloth also faces direct human threats. Unfortunately, due to its charming appearance and small size, there have been reports of people attempting to capture them for sale and exhibition, even in countries like the United States. This illegal trade, though limited, adds pressure on an already extremely vulnerable population. Capturing even a few individuals can significantly reduce genetic diversity, further compromising the species' ability to adapt and survive long term. The pygmy three-toed sloth also suffers from inadequate legal protection in some areas. Although listed as critically endangered, legal efforts to prevent habitat exploitation or curb illegal trade are not always sufficient. Limited enforcement and difficult access to the forests where they live hinder the implementation of effective conservation measures. Additionally, the fragmentation of protected areas means that even formally designated reserves may not be large enough to sustain a healthy population. population, making integrated conservation planning essential, taking into account both territory protection and connectivity between forest fragments. From a biological perspective, the pygmy three-toed sloth exhibits several fascinating adaptations. Its long, curved claws allow it to cling firmly to thin branches, even during long periods of inactivity. Its extremely slow metabolism conserves energy, allowing it to survive on a limited, low-nutrition leaf diet. It also has a specialized digestive system with multi-chambered stomachs that facilitate the fermentation of fibrous leaves, an adaptation that maximizes nutrient extraction from a low-quality diet. This slow, highly efficient metabolism, however, contributes to its vulnerability. Rapid environmental changes or food shortages can have disastrous effects. Reproduction is equally delicate. Females have a single offspring at a time after a gestation period of about 6 months, and the young remain clinging to the mother for the first months of life. The low reproductive rate combined with mortality from predators and habitat loss means that every birth is crucial for maintaining the population. Consequently, any conservation intervention must consider not only adult protection, but also the survival and development of offspring, ensuring they reach reproductive age. The pygmy three-toed sloth is thus a living symbol of the fragility of island wildlife. Its critical situation illustrates the challenges faced by many endemic species, especially those confined to small geographic areas. The story of this species also serves as a warning about the combined effects of environmental destruction, invasive species, and human exploitation on biodiversity. Despite all these threats, there is hope. Conservation organizations and local scientists are developing projects to monitor, protect, and increase the pygmy three-toed sloth population. This includes detailed habitat mapping, environmental education campaigns for local communities, and the creation of ecological corridors connecting isolated forest fragments, allowing greater movement and genetic diversity among individuals. Monitoring programs also include modern technology, such as trackers and remote cameras, to study the species' nocturnal and feeding habits without directly interfering in their natural life. Beyond biology and conservation, the pygmy three-toed sloth has a cultural and symbolic role. It is seen as an example of resilience and adaptation in the face of extreme challenges, reminding humans of the need to preserve not just individual species, but entire ecosystems. Its captivating appearance and unique behavior have helped attract global attention, mobilizing international support for conservation initiatives. In summary, the pygmy three-toed sloth is not just another slow animal in tropical forests. It is a silent guardian of its island's biodiversity, an example of how small and seemingly fragile species can carry immense value for ecological balance and global environmental awareness. The survival of this species depends on ongoing efforts, careful monitoring, and cooperation among local communities, scientists, and international organizations. Every newborn, every protected individual represents not only the preservation of a rare species, but the safeguarding of a unique evolutionary history that has existed for thousands of years and, with luck and dedication, will continue for generations to come. Number 8. Great Argus. The animal known as the Great Argus is not a mythical creature or a colossal beast. It's actually a pheasant. You can find it in Borneo if you're lucky. They are quite difficult to spot, and even those who dedicated themselves to finding them haven't had much luck. One person even said that despite all efforts, they've only seen one in the wild, and only once. As you can see in this video, the Great Argus has a special courtship ritual that amazed the people who filmed it. It doesn't perform this ritual frequently, which makes the fact that we captured this footage even more impressive. It's another reason to help keep this pheasant alive. Perhaps the next courtship ritual will involve magic rather than a disappearing trick. Number 9. Sumatran orangutan. It may seem obvious that habitat destruction is what has led many animal species to nearly lose their populations, but the truth is, animals like these aren't like humans who can simply pick up and move anywhere. That's not how it works. They create a delicate balance within their environment, and when it's threatened, they suffer. The Sumatran orangutan is another example of this. The forests of Sumatra have been heavily affected over the years by human expansion, and these orangutans have had to try to survive with less and less space to live. However, the good news is that we know they are still out there, and they've even been filmed. Additionally, people have planted forests to try to bring back some of the life that existed before. There are even caretakers who help look after the animals. Number 10. Albo dogs. You might find it strange that a species of dog is near extinction, considering how domesticated they are, but there are many species of wild dogs in the world that do not want or need humans, and the rare Albo dogs are one of these breeds that must be kept that way. This dog species was so rare that it took a global pandemic to bring them out of hiding. No joke. In 2020, they were spotted in a national park where they had been kept for decades but had not been seen in half a century. If you think about it, they were there all along and yet never seen because they didn't want to be found. Habitat destruction caused the drastic population drop, but conservation efforts, including the park mentioned, give hope for the future, especially since they were finally spotted again in the wild. Number 11, red panda. Pandas as a whole are creatures many people know and try to preserve and protect at all costs, even serving as the WWF symbol. But most people forget that there is more than one type of panda that needs protection. The red panda is another one that needs your help. Red pandas were so rare that in 2014, footage of the creature was finally captured in Myanmar, but only because its habitat had been destroyed. They tend to live in areas like China and the Himalayas and aren't really among the largest animals around, unlike the other pandas you're used to seeing. The good news is that due to multiple conservation efforts in the regions where they are protected under all sorts of laws, the species is currently only endangered, but it's a very unstable situation, and we cannot let our guard down. No one wants to hear that any type of panda is on the brink of extinction, right? Number 12, angel shark. You might not have expected to see a shark on this list, but sharks need protection in both natural and human-influenced ways. That doesn't mean they are immune to the dangers of extinction. The angel shark is an example of this. Currently, angel sharks are mainly found off the coast of Great Britain, where a major preservation effort is underway to reintroduce these animals to the environment. A few years ago, a photographer managed to capture excellent footage of an angel shark swimming, and it's a true spectacle, especially because this creature doesn't look like the typical sharks you expect to see in oceans and seas. The people of Wales have led the way in saving the angel shark species, even creating a law that makes it illegal to hunt or harm these sharks in any way. These sharks are known for being both flattened and small, meaning they don't pose a threat to humans and aren't really a danger that needs to be eliminated. Hopefully, people will continue working together not only to keep them alive, but also to increase their numbers in the future. Number 13, Irrawaddy dolphin. The Irrawaddy dolphin is a river dolphin that can be found in 3 specific areas of Southeast Asia. While this may sound interesting, it also means that you could go to a river and encounter a pleasant visitor on your boat. This is why these dolphins are listed with fewer than 100 individuals in some areas. One of the most popular places where they inhabit is the famous Mekong River, which is home to over 1,000 species of animals. You can imagine why people are trying to save this dolphin, as it is an essential part of the river ecosystem. Additionally, the animal is considered sacred by local communities, giving them even more reasons to preserve the creature. Why are their population numbers so low? Due to the size and diversity of the river habitat, they are constantly caught in fishing nets, sometimes by accident, but this doesn't prevent them from being killed in large numbers. Fortunately, the WWF and other organizations have joined forces to try to save the dolphin and work with local communities to ensure that such incidents do not continue. We hope that these efforts are making real progress. Number 14, Kakapo. How about traveling now to a country known for its unique and distinct biodiversity? I'm of course talking about New Zealand, a remote archipelago in the South Pacific, famous not only for its stunning landscapes, but also for its flora and fauna, which cannot be found anywhere else on the planet. Among the many extraordinary species inhabiting these islands, one of the most fascinating and rare is the kakapo. Few of you probably know this bird, and even fewer have had the chance to observe or hear about it in detail. But don't worry, we're going to explore everything about this unique creature, from its physical characteristics to its struggle for survival. The kakapo, scientifically known as Strigops habroptilus, is one of the world's most unique birds. It is often called the owl parrot, a nickname that reflects 2 of its most remarkable traits. First, its overall appearance resembles that of an owl. It has a rounded face covered by dense facial feathers that extend like whiskers around the eyes, creating a curious and almost enigmatic expression. These facial whiskers are not just aesthetic, they help the kakapo navigate and locate food at night, functioning as an enhanced sensory system. Second, and perhaps even more intriguing, the kakapo is nocturnal, which is quite unusual for a parrot. In fact, the name kakapo means night parrot in the Maori language, directly referencing its nighttime habits. The nocturnal life of the kakapo makes it particularly challenging to study. During the day, these birds tend to hide among dense ground vegetation in the forest, avoiding predators and conserving energy. At night, however, they become active, carefully moving across the forest floor in search of fruits, seeds, roots, and shoots. Unlike other parrots that spend most of their time in trees, the kakapo is strictly terrestrial. Its wings are small and incapable of sustaining flight, so it walks, climbs small elevations, or makes short runs to move. This ground-dwelling lifestyle historically made it vulnerable to introduced predators such as rats, cats, and mustelids after humans arrived in New Zealand. The kakapo is also remarkable for its size. It is one of the largest parrots in the world, with adults reaching up to 60 centimeters in length and weighing up to 4 kilograms. Its plumage is yellow-green with splashes of brown and gray, perfect for camouflage among dense vegetation. Its large, expressive eyes, combined with a round face, give it an almost human-like appearance that immediately evokes empathy from observers. Additionally, the kakapo has a relatively developed sense of smell, unusual among birds, which helps it find food and navigate the nighttime forest floor. Historically, the kakapo was found on all New Zealand islands, living in dense forests and mountainous areas. However, with the arrival of humans and introduced animals like cats, rats, possums, and dogs, these populations declined drastically. Today, the kakapo is considered critically endangered, and for a long time, it was thought it might become completely extinct. Intensive conservation efforts began in the 1970s, when the birds were translocated to isolated, predator-free islands within New Zealand. These islands were carefully chosen to provide abundant food, safety, and conditions close to the kakapo's original habitat. Despite these efforts, population recovery has been slow. Recent counts reveal extremely limited numbers. A few years ago, only 125 individuals survived, a frighteningly low number for maintaining the genetic diversity needed for long-term survival. Each kakapo is carefully monitored by conservationists, who track health, diet, behavior, and reproduction patterns. Efforts include individual marking, GPS trackers, supplemental feeding, and strict protection during the breeding season, when males perform their incredible mating calls, known as booms. The kakapo's booming calls are among the most fascinating aspects of its biology. During the breeding season, which occurs from March to May, males attract females by producing low-frequency sounds that can travel several kilometers through dense forests. This sound, called a boom, is part of a complex mating strategy. The male positions himself in a breeding territory known as a lek, open ground areas where he displays his call. Along with the sound, he performs ritual body movements, inflating his chest and flapping his wings to impress females. This behavior, though impressive, is energetically costly and increases exposure to predators, making the conservation of these individuals even more critical. Moreover, kakapo reproduction is naturally limited. Females lay only 1 or 2 eggs per season, and incubation and parental care require months of dedication. The low birth rate, combined with predation and habitat loss, largely explains the species' critical population status. Each individual is therefore extremely valuable for conservation programs, which involve not only protecting adults, but also ensuring that chicks survive and develop healthily. Interestingly, kakapos have a unique personality. Unlike many parrots that are active and noisy, the kakapo is calm, curious, and even playful. Researchers report that these birds display pet-like behaviors, such as exploring objects, interacting with humans when necessary, and even showing preferences for certain foods. This captivating temperament has helped gain global attention, bringing greater support to preservation programs and awareness of its critical situation. In summary, the kakapo is more than just a parrot. It is a natural wonder, a symbol of resilience, and a vivid reminder of the human impact on vulnerable species. With continued dedication, cooperation between scientists, conservationists, and local communities, New Zealand's owl parrot will continue to inspire and enchant future generations, proving that even the most endangered species can have a second chance when given care, attention, and protection. Number 15. Axolotl. The axolotl is one of the rarest and undoubtedly one of the most unique creatures in the world. It is defined as a giant salamander, and when the species was discovered, it was considered so special that it was named after one of the gods of Mexico. The axolotl possesses almost divine abilities, including the capacity to regenerate nearly any lost limb. Wild axolotls live exclusively in the remaining swamp areas of a lake and in canals leading to the southern edge of Mexico City. However, this hasn't prevented them from reaching other parts of the world, as they are apparently excellent pets and easy to care for. Because they live in aquatic environments, axolotls are exposed to pollutants that have drastically reduced their population. In 1998, the species had around 6,000 individuals per square kilometer, but by 2015, that number had dropped to just 35 per square kilometer. This represents a significant decline and is also why they are listed as critically endangered. We hope they do not go extinct, as we could truly lose a unique creature if that happens. Number 16. Okapi. By now for the story of a creature that was once considered a myth until it was definitively proven to exist, the okapi. A look at the okapi will show you just how special it is, and why you don't see it in the wild as much as you might think. If someone appeared in the wild all the time, they would probably draw a lot of attention. Interestingly, this animal seems to understand its unique appearance. It is an African mammal that doesn't bother hiding from view for long periods. The first observation of the okapi outside its native population in Africa didn't occur until the late 1880s, and even then it wasn't officially recognized until 1901. If you're wondering what it is and what it isn't, it is technically a relative of the giraffe, not a zebra. Although I understand the confusion, its striped hind legs can be misleading. Why does it have these stripes? Apparently they help with camouflage in its environment and also aid recognition by other members of its species. The species is so unique and rare that there is an organization dedicated to helping keep it alive, and we commend them for doing that work. Number 17. Vaquita. So far, I've talked about land creatures in danger, but there are many underwater creatures equally at risk. You could argue that no creature is as threatened as the vaquita. What is a vaquita? You've probably never heard of it. It's the smallest cetacean in the world and also the rarest marine animal on the planet. Would you like to guess how many are left? As of 2023, according to the World Wildlife Fund, WWF, there are only 10 vaquitas left in the entire world. That's not just near extinction, it's at a level where a single bad day could wipe out the entire population. Another terrifying aspect is that the species was only discovered in 1958, which is relatively recent in scientific terms. This means that between then and now, the population has plummeted and nearly disappeared. How did this happen? You can probably guess. Illegal fishing. Vaquitas are known to live near Mexico's Baja California, and because of their size, they are frequently caught in fishing nets and killed. They are also not afraid to approach coastal areas, which puts them at even greater risk of being hunted. They are so rare that the WWF did not capture an official photo of one in the wild until 2003, and even then it was only a blurred image, fitting for someone living near Hollywood. Jokes aside, this creature is on the brink of annihilation, and humanity only has itself to blame for the sharp decline in its population. Given their low numbers, a miracle or a concentrated conservation effort would be necessary for their recovery. Number 18. Amur leopard. You might think that due to their popularity, big cats would be immune to being rare creatures, but that's not true. Like many species, not all big cats live in areas where they can exist in peace without being hunted. The Amur leopard is an excellent example. While most leopards are found in Africa, this one lives in Russia. That's a big difference. For some reason, it has adapted to the cold climate of the region and established a life for itself, but it is now a rare discovery, much like rhinos. The Amur leopard is constantly hunted for its beautiful fur. The fur trade is a lucrative market, and as you might imagine, in the cold Russian climate, people want these furs to keep warm during harsh nights. Another disadvantage is that their habitats in Russia are often surrounded by towns and villages, so people can easily reach and kill them. Corruption has also been an issue, as leopards could be killed even in protected reserves. To give you an idea of how valuable these creatures are, a single Amur leopard pelt can be worth tens of thousands of dollars in some Russian villages. Other animals in their habitat are also often targeted for different reasons, creating a vicious cycle. The Amur leopard is not just a cool big cat, it is a rare subspecies that defies logic in many ways. For it to go extinct simply because people want its fur would be a very sad outcome. Number 19. Javan rhino. Returning to truly rare creatures in our world that need protection, the Javan rhino is next. How do we know the Javan rhino is so rare? It's simple. They live in only one place in the entire world, a national park. Cameras have been installed throughout the park to monitor the rhinos and ensure they are doing well in their new home. Some rare footage even shows them engaging in natural behaviors, such as wallowing in water and mud. How rare are Javan rhinos? In 2020, when a video was posted online, the population was only about 79 individuals. For context, that's just over 20 more than in 2009. Repopulation has not been easy, but fortunately the park is dedicated not only to helping the rhinos, but also protecting them from hunters. Rhinos in Africa and Asia have historically been hunted almost to extinction for their natural assets. In this case, their horns and even their skins for some were highly prized. Ivory was one of the most luxurious commodities a person could own, and people did not hesitate to kill rhinos en masse to sell it on the black market. Even with species like this nearing extinction, people still hunt them for money and pride. This is why conservation efforts are so vital. Without them, species like the Javan rhino would disappear, making sightings of such animals virtually impossible. And that would be tragic. Number 20. Saola. The word rare can mean many things to different people, and sometimes rarity is defined by a specific region rather than globally. We decided to end with a creature so rare that it sometimes goes many years without being seen in the wild. The Saola, or Asian unicorn, sometimes spotted in Vietnam. I emphasize sometimes. In 2013, a photographer managed to capture a photo of this wild animal in the country. The last sighting before that had been 15 years earlier. That's a long time and highlights just how rare this creature is. The animal was first discovered in the remote high mountains near the Laos border in 1992, and even then, only a skull was found. To this day, we still know very little about it due to its rarity and difficulty to locate in Vietnam. One of the main reasons is that population numbers are extremely low, as local hunters have pursued the species to near extinction. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Also, check out other interesting content appearing on your screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video. See you next time.